Here we are with something to say with Tom Probasco and Frank Watson. Take it away, Tom.
Well, you may have heard that today is Halloween.
I've had intimations of that.
Yes, I'll just bet you have. So in thinking about that, so I was thinking about today's recording and our conversation, uh, and you know how things just come to you. So I got to thinking about a line from one of your songs, Barbara's Kitchen,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just gonna read it. It's one of your songs written in your, what I'm gonna think you were probably still, were you on Steel or were you still down in Greene County in that
Oh
era?
no, we were in College Park. She was in College Park and I came calling.
Okay. In the bar at the time you wrote Barbara's Kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm gonna have to turn on a light here if it doesn't mess thing up. Okay, that's okay. Um, there's a line in here. I gotta make sure. I'm still having trouble with the cataract, post cataract surgery, um, vision thing, and I may or may not have the. There was a line where you were. Let me find it here. Somebody. Yeah, this is it. Okay, Barbara's Kitchen. Got to get it turned around here so I can look and read at the same time. Yes, I like the sound of Barbara in the kitchen, the sound of Louis barking at the trick or treaters on the lawn. Hence the Halloween book. Okay.
Yes.
The sound, and this is what the sound of Danny griping because his costume's not just right. I think it's great that Chris looks just like Spider-Man tonight. Halloween is really a scary time of year. After all is said and done, there's such a lot to fear. But here the world is good. There's no place I'd rather be than here in Barbara's kitchen, keeping Barbara company. So I thought, now there's an appropriate song thing to read um, for today.
Thank you. I'm honored. And so
Well, I tell
Barbara,
you,
she's sitting here.
Barb's there.
Yes.
Oh, hey, Barb. Uh, so to back up just a bit, that song exists in this.
Yes.
This was the songbook, and I got to thinking about, and I'll tell you a few more things about this. But it got uh, done. You've got some material in the front of it, and it says, "I present this book to my mother, Grace Watson, in memory of her father, Charles Henry Howard, at whose knee I was introduced to the guitar, to singing and telling stories. I thank my wife, Barbara, for the love and encouragement she has given me as I have written these songs over the past 14 years. Now, 14 years back from the copyright date you put on here was 1989.
Uh-huh.
Well, this was kind of early days, but you had been at it a while and you kept at it, continuing up until now. A very special thank you to my friend Marilyn. Without her, my songs would be in a pile instead of in a book. And then, Dear Barbara, I Love You, Frank, copyright 1989. And this was on 1515 Steel Street. That's when you put it together, apparently. And anyway, so at some point, um, so I had the songbook, and we would sing different songs out of it. Me on harmonica, you on various instruments, stringed instruments. And it was just before, what year would this have been? I'm going to say 2018, maybe. Uh, you you figured out you had to leave Steel Street.
Right. Well, that was, yeah, yeah.
And just before that, I had said, Frank, you know what? I've got this songbook and it has lyrics. And by then, I not only had this songbook, by then I had collected, some years had gone by, and you had some other sheets just like this. So I had the book and I had those sheets, but nothing had any indication that there were no um, chord charts or anything like that. And I hatched the idea that you weren't too keen on initially. I said, I really would like to record you and get so the lyrics are preserved. There was no way either you or I were going to get them, get them the music like you see in, professionally printed things for Paul Simon or whoever. And so finally you said, okay, we'll do it. And we were both thinking we would get it done. It wouldn't take very long. This is just what happens. You think whatever you think, and then you find out what it's going to really. So finally, and I'm just going to read this note I put in the, we did it. And I'm just going to read this real quick. It's not very long. The thing I keep in the binder with it now. I started this project almost 4 years ago, interrupted by various things, including a pandemic. Oh, interrupted by various things, including a pandemic. It is finally finished. I have recorded my friend Frank Watson singing the songs of his for which I have lyric sheets, saving them on a flash drive, thus preserving the melodies. The keepers of this collection are Frank Watson, Caleb Hawkins, Kenneth Yerian, and I. Tom Probasco, Broad Ripple, Indiana, March 2022. So that's when I got it done. Uh, I got some PDFs done of the songbook. I've got flash drives attached to this, and I handed each of those to the folks I mentioned. Now, I think at this point, probably um, Greg Ziesemer and his wife,
There's
Chris,
several people that got copies of that.
they did over time. Yeah, over after, because once you posted on Facebook that you had done it, people were really like, "Oh, I'd like to have that." So yeah, so there's well, and then also no updates today, but I won't go on about the Indiana Music History Project. Well, Rick Wilkerson has got all of this as well. So it's at some point it'll be included one way or the other in in the archives, the Indiana Music History Project archives at some point. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that because a lot of this, what we're doing, Frank, is about preservation. These things we're doing here, some things you do with Pat, who still lives at Sycamore Reserve. Um, and this is very much a part of that. These songs and their lyrics are poetry. And my relationship with you has resulted, I mean, I wouldn't have done those chat books if it hadn't been for your encouragement. And then it kind of went back and forth. So I finally got you to agree to do this. You did, fortunately, and now we have it. So anyway, that is I just wanted to mention that exists. I forgot. And there's just one more thing about this. So at some point, now this isn't part of the archives, but at some point, I did produce, and it's some songs by Frank Watson. I used the same image that's on the front of the songbook, and then on the back are a list of all these songs, and it goes on in the inside. I basically created a CD with liner notes in it. And the reason I did that, I mean, the songs exist on the flash drive, and that's fine. But I wanted to be able to play these songs on something that I could get the volume up to practice harmonica with them. So I've got this, and at some point, this also will be added to the to Rick Wilkerson's Indiana Music History Project. So there is that. Uh, Trying to think of what am I leaving out here? Uh, so have you been big move. I know now you're settled in there in the house in Muncie, but I haven't heard anything or been aware of anything. Have you been? Yeah, I know you've got your instruments, at least some of them there. Maybe Caleb comes up and plays some music. I've kind of lost track. Uh,
Caleb has been up several times, and
okay.
um, uh, Caleb and I we we're probably wasting a lot of good conversation, great conversation about music, because Caleb digs deep into who's who among guitar players, fiddle players, mandolin players, and his his taste in music is changing and growing, which reflects on his playing. He's also becoming a luthier. He's in the process of uh, learning to build guitars with a group up in Michigan.
Oh,
And my goodness, they've got affordable guitars. They're made affordable by the use of technology, but it's informed technology and with uh, really fine finishing. So he brought by a guitar that he's working with. It's available for about $900, under $1,000 American made. Uh, it
oh,
plays, it sounds comparable to $3,500 Martin in his opinion and mine. His
mhm.
opinion is better. His ears are younger, um, and his musicality is he's a much more musical person in terms of pitch and being able to hear uh, what's going on musically. But I hear pretty good, and it's an amazing guitar. Anyhow, uh, uh, we enjoy visiting, and we when we start talking, it's music this and music that, and
Yeah.
interspersed by songs, mostly either really good renditions of songs that he likes in particular and chooses to perform, or songs that he has written. And some of those songs are just really good. I would say they're all good. Some of them are great. He's got one that I especially love, Time. Uh,
That was posted on Facebook.
yes,
Yeah.
and it's outstanding. Uh, Time changes everything.
Yeah.
Uh, who says hold the line when the rough road puts you on the side? Time changes everything.
Yeah.
Really profound. Some of the songs he's done reference his background, which is very similar to mine in a sense of uh, having roots in Appalachia and southern Indiana and Kentucky, Ohio, that area.
Yeah.
Uh, Jen
Yeah.
St. Sullivan.
What was that last thing?
Ginseng Sullivan. Uh, uh, oh, I'm blanking. He uh, the songwriters he chooses to cover are people that I may not have heard of them
I
until
was going to ask that.
until
Yeah.
he plays one of their songs. Guy Clark, for instance,
Oh, well,
I was
yeah.
not really familiar with Guy Clark, and Caleb came in raving about him, and uh, uh,
Yeah, he was Guy Clark was played a lot. I've got an album over there. He was on the folk sampler. Mike
uh,
Penn, he went for decades, and he often pulled out a Guy Clark. Every show was a theme,
yeah,
and he would play things, but he often played Guy Clark material. Yeah,
yeah.
so I had some familiarity, but that's one of Caleb's fair. He likes him too. Then that's uh, so yeah. Now a couple so does Caleb kind of work for this luthier now, or is
It's
that?
a collaboration at this point. He walked in not knowing how to just up and build a guitar, but Caleb has been working on guitar since he was like 13.
Yeah, I remember when you first met him. He worked at Frank's Fiddle
He worked at Frank's
Shop.
Fiddles. He worked,
I remember that.
yeah, he worked for Bill Schaefer out in Linwood, um, and um, and he tweaks everything he does. He apprenticed as a blacksmith while he was just a kid.
I think that was a past, a little bit of his past that I.
So he's got deep roots. His father did uh, um, carpentry and worked with wood, and so Caleb's skill set runs deep. Started early, and
Yeah.
he's got a he was homeschooled, and I think that makes a difference.
Mhm.
I think if your parents are capable of homeschooling and you have a good homeschool group to work with, you can go deeper into learning how to learn than the public schools do. We don't give the public schools the involvement of the parents that homeschooling gets, nor do we give them the the number of kids that they have to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a
Uh,
lot that's out of their control.
right. Uh, there's the I think the political situation that we have in the United States today, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, uh, you're part of a system that is pulling the country apart. People wanting to basically the same desire that existed at the time of the Confederacy, people wanting to pull apart, and, and that would definitely hurt everybody in terms of you've got these large superpowers, and when you go from being a superpower to not being a superpower, your vulnerability increases both in terms of where you are in the marketplace and the likelihood of your being invaded. And you can look at that a number of ways,
Yeah.
but
Bacon
anyhow,
can be different
the
things. Yeah.
homeschooling can teach you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
There varies. Yeah. It varies, you know.
yeah,
Uh,
a lot, and many of the homeschool groups teach classical studies. They'll teach Latin and Greek. They'll teach ancient history, um, and logic.
It's quite variable.
Yeah, but
Does
Caleb's went into some deeper things.
did he is he still in touch? I expect he is, but I'm not in touch with him at all now. Um, is he still in touch with Kyle Dillingham,
Oh
the
yeah,
master fiddle player?
yeah. He doesn't see as much of Kyle because Kyle moved from Oklahoma to Texas.
Oh,
Uh, his wife, uh, wanted to move her children there for so they could be close to their dad. Is my understanding of it. Don't
yeah,
quote
there was
me on that.
family things going on. Yeah, yeah, I
But you
kind of
don't have
remember
to
that.
quote me. I just said it.
What's
Um,
that?
I say I guess you don't have to quote me. I just said it.
Yeah, there you go.
But
Yeah.
that's just my understanding.
I thought there was something like that, and I just kind of forgot because I only met him the one time at your birthday party. Um, that was a real pleasure meeting, but prior to that and after, didn't have any contact.
Kylan's a great talent, and I would really love to see Caleb um, get the kind of recognition that I think he deserves.
Yeah, and we see that a lot of times. You know, in the group uh, that Caleb was not a part of, but think of the Webbs, Pat and Chris.
Yeah,
Uh, Dave, Morgan, and Al Stratner. There's all that, and I mean, there's recognition, and then, but I don't think anybody. We've talked about this a lot. What it means, and for instance, you and Pat, you know, made some efforts to expand the public's awareness of them. But then when they found out you and Pat, I'm thinking of the stories. Uh, the contract in his case that he refused to sign.
yeah,
He didn't want to lose control.
right.
So that limited, um, it's a conundrum, isn't it? Because in doing that, your income is great as a music. If you're going to try to live by your music, I think Pat did to some degree. But if you're not getting the big contracts, then you don't have the things you need to live um, if you're only doing your music. And that's a
Actually, regional artists can, if they work at it, and if that's what they want to do, they can make
yeah,
uh, they can make it. Uh,
yeah,
Many of them have day jobs.
right.
Craig Ziesmer, for instance, is a wonderful uh, restorer of furniture.
I realized that
He
from Facebook. I've
does
never met
he
him, but
does museum quality work.
yeah,
Uh, Caleb repairs office machines. He's got people from all over the state that want him to work for them, and he has to set limits because sometimes they don't realize, uh, being as good as he is with either office machines or music, he's not going to pay to play. If it costs a lot to travel,
oh yeah,
and oh, I can preach on this subject. There was a famous blues musician. I can't call his name right now because I'm old and I get blues names. He was supposed to have met the devil at the crossroads and made a deal with him, and he was a really great musician. And he wanted to, that was the deal he made with the devil for his soul.
yeah,
So there are several major crossroads in this country where you can meet the devil and sell your soul. Uh,
Yeah.
the two big ones, I would say, would be New York and LA. Uh, and you might have another one in Chicago. Uh, you might have another one in Nashville. That's a big one, Nashville. You
Yeah.
know, there's crossroads all over the country, but they're spread out. And what
Right.
that means is when you make a deal with the devil, you're making a deal whereby you get a little bit of money. The devil makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
You get a little bit. Now, sometimes if you hit it real big, you get a pretty good deal, and you can you can you can establish yourself. But by that time, your whole persona is bought into the devil anyhow. Uh, when you make a deal in New York, Nashville, LA, all the money is centralized profit taking.
Yeah.
And these big business centers drain the country of the lifeblood, the money that's needed locally to support local business, families.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why uh, we don't have enough uh, families. It's not that people don't want to have children; it's that they can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, you go to a hospital, it costs. You go to work, you got to pay for babysitter. Maybe that
Right.
babysitter is not the best choice for your child, but you got to work because uh, you don't have one parent that's capable of bringing home enough to live on,
Right.
and unless you know, exceptional on you have an exceptional wage earner, one, and two, you're willing to do the work and capable of doing the work and giving up the part of your life that would have the control, the income, and the self expression coming from you, and letting and trusting your partner to have control of money and that power center in your life.
Yeah.
And
Very difficult.
women in general have found out that's not a very good deal.
No.
Oh,
No.
you know,
That's it. Now, does the and again I've lost track. Does Caleb? I know he quit playing bars for some reasons. Does he? Is he able to perform? There was a time he was doing a lot of performing. I don't know now uh, what his situation is as far as that is concerned. Do you have any idea?
right now, I think he's concentrating on being a luthier.
Okay.
He cares about the quality of stringed instruments and their affordability. Caleb cares about other musicians. He
Okay.
doesn't just care about Caleb. He thinks that his friends that play music should be able to buy an American-made guitar that
Yeah.
is of sufficient quality for them to
And
really make good
affordability.
music
Yeah.
and be able to buy an American-made guitar that can do that at an affordable price.
Yeah.
And so he is on the road. He is really pursuing that.
Now, is he the one that's you told me the story to a certain degree. Uh, CJ's Watson's guitar. Didn't somehow Caleb didn't he came
He
into
was
possession of
yeah
that?
he was aware that Ellie Beth was selling it.
Okay, Ellie
Uh,
Beth wound up with it. Okay.
yeah, and oh yeah, CJ bought that guitar and it was a mirror image of the one that he played,
Okay.
a Gibson SG.
So
I'm
he's got
or an
it.
Epiphone probably. It
Okay.
was an SG, and uh, it was a short neck, easy to play electric, and he wanted Ellie to have that. So he set it up for her, and CJ, you know, his ability to set up instruments was, he was deep into it like Caleb. I
Mhm.
don't know that he could set up, do all the work that Caleb could do. Certainly not, but on setting up a neck and knowing what needed to be done,
He knew a lot.
he knew a lot. That
Yeah.
was his business.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that traced right back to CJ, and I
So
managed.
it's now in
I
possession. Ellie Beth.
Yeah, I went ahead and bought it from Ellie, and
Oh, you've got it now.
no,
You
I
said
I
I
bought
get
it from
lost.
Ellie. I had Caleb do some work on it, and we shipped that guitar to my other son, uh,
Oh,
Aaron.
oh, Aaron's got it.
Aaron's got it.
It's
And
fixed up and he can use it and he'll keep it.
yeah,
Okay, good. That's what I was going. Where is that guitar's home going to be? I think I learned that and I got lost in the zigzagging there. Well,
well,
good.
I've got I both of my sons are, we're into music, and one still is, and I assume the other one still is. I don't really believe that in death as a final thing. I believe that life goes on, and that the things that are important to us here will be important to us there, to one way or another. And I had a dream one time about CJ, and he was arranging concerts and songwriting classes, and very busy with music over on the other side. So I take a lot of comfort in dreams like that, and I think they're informative for me. I take them as not just a production of my subconscious, but a connection with something greater.
Could be. Could be. Yeah. So where are we with time for today's session, Frank?
Well, let's see here. I think we're running over.
Oh, yeah, I kind of wondered about that. Okay, well, I have something that I can read next time. I'll just introduce it and then maybe we can pick up from there.
Well, you know what? You could do that, or we could run over. It's your choice.
Okay, let me just quickly. This one, it's a poem I wrote in that chat book, the first one. It's called "Cleaning Out the Shed." Now, to introduce it, there's a mention of a haunted house in it. So that was one thing. But the other part of this is, Frank, it's a combination that I was able to, one of those things able to achieve. I wrote it down, got it done, and realized at some point that it was both a pleasant memory from my childhood, but it also represented something dark. Let me grab it here. It, as you'll hear throughout, at the beginning and at the end, and in the middle, it has to do with uh, a time when uh, civil rights were beginning to be. I didn't have much awareness of it at the time it was happening. Uh, I began at some point. There were reports of violence, conflict, but it had to do again with the separation of the races, which goes on to this day. And it has to do with oppressors and the oppressed. Now, that's not obvious in here, but I have had those read it and come and see it in there. And they were able to express that in a way that I couldn't have. It got published in about a year and a half ago in the Flying Island, which is the online um, journal of the Indiana Writers Center. And I'll just read it. It's called Cleaning Out the Shed. Let me get over here. I turn toward this light. Uh, it was made of wood and held the coal that warmed the thick-walled brick building there, decided on those grounds. The one-room school eventually changed into an oil-heated house I grew up in. We came when I was 15 months from Dayton out to the country east of Xenia on Hoop Road, moving as many were and would away from advancing colored, the word most white polites used then. The shed was dark, housing for lawnmowers, tiller, tools and pools and cats and mice and sometimes rats when the felines were fewer and tamer and fed from a can. The shed was dark, even with the bulb above the bench turned on for seeing good enough in the shed. The shed was dark and usually not so you could play in there and not have it show on hands and pants. A good place to hide, make a haunted house. Hear rain, put the balls and bats in my flexible flyer. And sometimes still, certain beams of light in certain places on certain days bring me back to when we cleaned the shed. When my father unclasped the door above the floor on the side that faced the garden on some bright early afternoon, and swung it open and the front door too, and the shaft of sunshine. What a sight to see such light in the shed. We'd haul stuff out and hose down the walls, flush webby refuse across the floor in a flooding that finally ran away clean. We'd sweep and let it all dry a bit, discard some stuff, then haul stuff back. Let more light and air flow through. Then after a while, my dad would close that smaller door that made that difference in how things looked inside. When first the light entered, the bikes and jars and such looked naked, maybe pale or surprised. Think how dark it must have been with nothing but coal within. By dusk, we had closed the door in front on items neatly arranged and waiting for the usual way we kept things there, for the coatings of dust in the darkness there, cleaning out the shed.
Yes.
So that's what I got today to run us a little bit over there, Frank.
Well, you know what? Let's go on to for another 5 minutes or so. I've been thinking about this, Tom, and a good conversation takes a while to unwind.
Yeah.
And uh, uh, that half-hour time period is really um, kind of tailored to uh, people who are in a hurry, maybe, or the segment on radio where you got so
On
much time for
television. Yeah.
sponsors.
Yeah. A lot of things are half hour long. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that we're too awful worried about that. I think we might get tired after uh, uh, an hour. So, but
Yeah.
if we run 45 minutes or 50, I think we're good.
Okay.
It gives us time to finish what
Yeah.
we're talking. So, yeah,
Yeah.
you touched on the civil rights movement. um, and racial divisions. I think that uh, a lot of the uh, what we're dealing with today is rooted partly in racial divisions and partly in cultural divisions, tribal, uh, and partly in the manipulation of differences uh, for the purpose of political uh, competitions.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it's uh, I and generally I think the African American population is given the high moral ground by most liberals and and uh, many on the right would claim that for their own uh, religious and political leadership uh, and differences in culture. I think it's worth noting that the civil rights movement as a nonviolent movement lost its great leader by gunfire. And others did their best, but I think that African Americans and those who like them believed in the civil rights movement uh, in losing that leader lost hope in this country as being able to uh, respect uh, people regardless of race. In losing hope, when we go to popular culture today, we don't see the nonviolence. We don't see much of the true people of faith who are out there. The people, we don't see much of the educated people. What we see are gangster rappers. Think about the music that you've heard. Um, think about uh, everybody knows who P Daddy is, or whoever, uh, and you've got a certain amount of hip hop goes will go across some racial lines, but it basically taps into gangster culture, the law of the gun. Uh,
Yeah,
that
not entirely, but it has, it's funny, it has roots in that, and yet there's been some that has come out and changed and become more mainstream in recent times.
there's hope in that.
Yeah.
Uh, but so many have bought into being a gangster as a way to get ahead in life, or competition, being a sports star, beating somebody else up to make money is beating somebody else up to make money. Uh, and 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 you get mirror images um, in a lot of I think the uh, those who advocate for white supremacy. They want to beat somebody up. They want to physically dominate the other. Well, that pathway divides us all.
Yeah.
And it's funded artistically. The people who pick the music feed into that. They say, this is how we sell records. Those
Yeah.
are the people,
Industry. It's another industry.
those are the people in New York and LA, Nashville, Chicago, who sit back and say, it's all about the money, son.
Yeah. Well,
So that's what's at the heart of a lot of the issues that we're dealing with in this country. And uh,
cultural degradation for
it's
various reasons.
it's a really sad thing. Same thing with guns. It's all about the money, son.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And worldwide that's true.
Right.
If you got the biggest bomb, if you got the most bombs, if you
Yeah.
got the most soldiers, it's not about anything but power.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Hanging on to power.
or not just hanging out, but reaching out and taking it from someone else.
Yeah. 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 That's in that Nancy Gaucher or Mary Gaucher Mercy Now.
Mercy now. Oh
There
yeah.
is a plea for help from the average common person. And she airs a line in there when she says those in power will do anything to keep their crowns.
Princes and principalities. And
And
I
yeah,
know that you don't subscribe to my particular strong belief in Jesus. But when we're told that there will be princes and principalities, that's an observation and not
oh,
a, you know,
yeah, I suppose we have different views of what the supernatural. I don't know. The teachings of I don't see a lot of difference, and we've talked about this, a lot of difference between the teaching of Christ, Jesus, and other great teachers. I don't. I'm at the point where I don't say, well, I don't think. Yeah, what is the divine? I don't. I am not. I don't claim to have knowledge to know about the hereafter. I mean, I just that that we enter into a kingdom of heaven that has any resemblance to our being. I just don't know.
well,
You
the thing of,
have a feeling about that, and I don't. But that doesn't mean I don't value the views of those, especially those who see Jesus or any other great teacher who is inclusive, who is not, um, condemning somebody for not fitting a narrow mold of what is right, what's moral. So I'm very much uh, in tune with that. Uh, Maybe I don't have the same, just to use the word religiosity. I don't even know what that means anymore. I mean, I know what it means to some others, where they think they know, and they know if you're a sinner or not.
and
Uh,
there we have reached 150 in time.
okay, yeah.
And I think we have discussed politics and religion. Next time, we might want to start out with sex.
I'll leave
So,
that to you, Frank.
it's been great. Thank
Yeah,
you
as
so much.
usual. Yep. All right. See you next time.